Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is VR and we are back playing Banished. Banished is a city builder simulator thingamajig. It's not really like any other city builders out there as it takes place in medieval time. So we're just going to start a new game. I have actually recorded 4 other episodes on this on a previous save file, but it turned out I accidentally corrupted the saves or something like that, the recordings. So yeah, I'm redoing it now. We are going to call our city something with an L. Lerith. Whatever. This is just going to be completely random. Terrain type, valley. Terrain size, large. Climate, mild because I suck at the game. Starting conditions, medium. So that's what you see here. If I'm correct, I am recording my own mouse, so you should be able to see everything. I don't like how big this file is becoming, but whatever. We shall begin the game. So, loading screen. So the game is basically a city builder, as I said, but it has a higher grade of difficulty to it, to be fair, than, for example, City Skylines, because first of all, there are actual proper disasters, like fires that burn down your entire village, and tornadoes. That's something I had in my other playthrough, which I recorded earlier but failed, and yeah, that's not... It's hard, and things can escalate really quickly, and if you do things wrong, people actually die. So let's take a minute to actually explain the game. As you can see, panning the camera, it looks pretty good, but what we're first of all going to do is take a look at these people. As you can see, they are... You have a bunch of stats here. Actually, I need to do one other thing first. First of all, this is the event log where things are stated that happen within your village, relevant things like people growing up or dying or low reserves of food or something like that. This menu, in which you give people jobs, and it's not as bad as it seems when you look at it quickly. It's and of course the map. So this is my standard UI layout. Makes everything easy and accessible while still having enough space to actually do things. So, these little icons above everybody's heads mean that they are homeless, so let's quickly do something about that. We're going into the F3 menu and build some wooden houses. So, first of all, we're just going to build parallel to the storage units and put... Let's make it 3 houses down. That should do for now. Some people may still be homeless, but we're first going to let them harvest some resources and the like so we can actually keep going. So we're just going to get some iron and wood, and then we're going to decide where we want certain things to be, because obviously we can't just cut down forests and everything like that, because trees don't just grow back that quickly. So we need to do something about that, and in order to do so, we are going to set up a forester lodge. Now, the forester lodge has a function of replanting and cutting down trees when they are either cutting them down when they are old and planting them new when there's space. So we're going to put it here. That way we can expand this way with our village while still keeping this forest here. And that seems good. So now we're going to need builders to actually build our houses. So we're going to have them do this. And the other people are labourers, and they will be doing what I assigned earlier, namely chopping up this iron and wood logs. So iron is a resource we won't be seeing a whole lot of quite yet, because it's mostly a later... you don't use it that much in the early game, as in really early game. We'll start using it soon, but not quite yet. Stone is these lovely jubbly grey rocks, and you use a little bit of them for pretty much everything, and certain buildings require a metric ton of it, and logs are your main resource. Logs are, however, not simply useful for building. You also need them in order to keep your people warm. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a wood cutter down here. This will be built, and this will allow us to change normal stored logs into firewood. Firewood is needed during the winter to keep your people warm and keep them from dying from cold. So, as you can see, let me pass it real quick. We have 3 houses built, and out of what, 14 people, 4 are still homeless. So that's something we probably want to fix, which means we're just going to put another house next to this one. This is not something I usually do. I usually have rows of 3, but I want to do it differently for once. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to pause for a second and actually look at what we're doing. Over here, our forester lodge is being built. 2 people are actually working on that, 3 people working on that, and then we still have that house being built, but that's fine. So, people are going to construct these things now. First of all, they're going to cut down the trees that are in the way, and then they will start putting the resources there, and then they will start building it. Resources and chopping trees down can be done by labourers. However, the building part can only be done specifically by builders. Now, people that do not have a proper job will automatically start doing other things. So, in the sense that if there's 5 builders and they are not needed in order to build things, so now we have a surplus of 1 builder. That 1 builder that's doing nothing will just take on the function of a labourer. Now, as you can see, this means that there is no one working here, because that is a separate profession. So we need to assign a woodcutter, which we're going to do over there. We can also do that over here, as you can see, and if we click this, we can see who our woodcutter is. If we can follow the person, look at that. Uphilion the woodcutter is working. So, now she is going to chop up wood. Now, that's the first part done. However, obviously, we can't just keep going like this because our people will starve to death. The sad part is that we're not exactly near a proper river, so fishing is not going to be a good food source, which means we have to resort to, for one, herbs. That also has pretty much the same story as our forester lodge. So we're just going to put that next to the forester lodge. They will be harvesting roots and that kind of malarkey within the radius, the yellow circle you see here. We'll be assigning 2 woodcutters for the time being, foresters, that should be fine. And we actually still have 2 homeless people, so let's fix that real quick as well. We might as well let time continue, because we're not really at a moment where we don't have things to do for people. So, we're going to turn this around, and I want it like this. So now we have that, and we're going to put another one there for in case people want new houses for the kids. So now, as you can see, over here, the message pops up, reserve of stone is low. We actually have no stone and no logs left. That means we need to get some. So we're just going to do that, and on this side we are going to cut down some trees, because we're not really using them anyway. This icon indicates that there's not enough materials to present to perform the action that this thing does. As you can see, it needs logs to work, but there were no logs, so it couldn't work. However, that's fine and being fixed right now. So, this is being built. Let's see, how's everything doing? We need more stone, I think. Oh no, they're still cutting that up. Okay, so that's fine. Then, let's take a look-see. What do we need more? Our gatherer's hut is probably not going to be enough food to supply our entire colony as it will become, because those people are going to be eating a lot. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to start a crop field of 12 by 12. Yeah, we're going to make it 12 by 12. So we're going to plant wheat here, and obviously we need farmers to work here. So we're going to put 2 people on that, because we don't have enough people to actually put 3 on, as the game suggested. The game will always give a suggested amount of people working. You can switch around, so for example, if you have 2 farms that both require 2 workers, but you only have 3 farmers, then you can assign, well, I want this thing to have priority, so I'm giving this guy a maximum of 1, and the other 2 will therefore instantly go to the other farm field, crop field. So that's fine. Now, as you can see, a lot of our people are actually doing nothing. That is because we have this, but it's not being used. Now, 4 of our builders are not really needed, so we're just going to put 2 people on there. Problem being, we're not going to get any food from the farm anytime soon, so we're just going to get the farmers off here and put them on the gatherer's hut. Now, they will start collecting, and I'm going to hope that that gets us through the winter, because otherwise we'll have to start over. And we're just going to have, yeah, no, that should be fine. Not much else to do at the moment. So, now we wait, and we hope we make it, basically. So I have concluded that we're not actually in that much of a dire need for food, because these jerks have actually occupied half of the food we got with us. These guys have 3/10, so that's a third. And these guys have a bit, and then they have a teeny tiny bit, and they have barely anything. So that's a bit disappointing. I'm not really happy about that, because that's not going to be great, but if we click this, we can see that we are actually producing quite a bit of food in our gatherer's hut, so we might actually be fine. Now, you see these little things here. I think they are just outside of the reach of... No, they're just inside of the reach of the gatherer's hut. However, we might as well do it ourselves. So we can just go into remove resources and then do that. We are also going to do that with some of the iron we have here, because we're not going to be using that anytime soon. That was not what I meant to say. We're not, we're probably going to build there, so it's not really useful to have things there. Now, again, game says reserve of food is low. That's not really true, because we're generating quite a bit of food. We're generating more than we actually seem to be using, so that's good. And I am patiently waiting for the moment that these guys are going to occupy all the food we have, but we'll see about that. And other than that, there's not much to do. So let's have a look-see at our town. So it is now autumn, which means we're not going to be farming here. As soon as spring begins, I need to get some gatherers off their job and put them on the farming, in order to get that field ready for harvesting at the end of the summer. Because if I don't do that, we will have a way lower harvest rate than this thing potentially has. So, for example, this thing can generate 1,000 food per season. If we only have 2 farmers instead of 3, that might just become 500. So it's really important to have enough people doing the job that you want. So now there's this lovely jubbly icon, which means the limit has been reached. As you can see, there's a fuel limit of 300, and we are at 304. That means that this guy will not be doing his job, and will simply be taking on the function of a labourer for as long as he has this limit. So what we can just do to avoid that is simply click that button, which will up the limit to 400, and now in a bit we will see it vanish, and he will start working there again. So he's actually generating a metric ton of firewood, way more than we're using probably, but that's good. It's always good in this game to have proper reserves, because things can go to hell in no time. Yeah, so let's take a look-see at the gatherer's hut. That is actually doing really great. So we are generating 1,000 food per season there. Per season, I think. Well, no, that's not even true. We'll see how much we're actually generating at the summer. I believe one season in this game is for some reason seen as a year. I'm not completely sure how all that works, but whatever. We'll see. Deer have arrived within our vicinity. That brings me to the next possible food source, and next game element. As you can see, this guy has clothes. His clothing is fair, however, there are also people with ragged clothes and that kind of malarkey. We have 11 stored pieces of clothing left. However, that won't last long, especially not with this population, nearly 20 people. So that means that at one point, either our people will need more firewood in order to stay warm, or we can make clothes ourselves. Deer provide a source of leather, so we can kill the deer using a hunting cabin. So we could put down a hunting cabin, and within the radius it will hunt deer in a sustainable way, so the deer population actually stays intact, but you'll also get meat and leather from it. Now, meat is actually a pretty good food source. If you trade it with a trader for other things, one normal food is 1 value, and mutton, the meat you get from these, is about 3. And in my experience, you actually get around 600 mutton per season from a hunting cabin, so that might be something to do at a later point in time. For now, we're going to focus on getting our farmers back on the job, because it is early spring. So, let's get to work for these guys. We now have everything pretty much occupied completely, except for the forest lodge, but that's fine. We're not in dire need of wood. This guy is probably not needed for the time being, so we're going to get him on the foresting. And we are actually at maximum storage, nearly, for our goods. So that means we need to make some new storage. That isn't really a problem because it doesn't cost any resource, so we're just going to put this up here. They'll chop down the last tree that is standing on it, and now we have new storage. That's a bigger problem when you are near capacity with this, because for this you actually need to build a new storage barn, which is rather big, as you can see, but that is not a thing we need to worry about quite yet, because we're only at 40%. Now, we're producing way more food using this than we're actually using up, so that's a pretty good thing. As you can see, the last season we produced 1200. That's a lot, really, it is. And we'll probably be getting that again. And as you can see, somebody just grew up. So Kalen is now a labourer. That means she doesn't have a proper job, which means she can just become that. Now, there's not much else to do, again. This game is a lot of waiting, but due to the aesthetics and the actual nice things to look at, it all has nice graphics. It's not intensive. I ran it on my previous computer, not too great computer, smoothly 80 FPS I think. It supports DirectX 9, DirectX 11, and it will soon be supporting OpenGL, so people on Apple and that kind of malarkey can play it, as well as it only uses DirectX as renderer right now, so sadly it's not compatible with Mac, and I don't think Linux supports DirectX either, but that's a niche in the gaming community anyway, so, but the developer is actively working on that. It also has an active mod community, which I might actually show. This game hasn't been updated in a year or so, because the developer is a lone developer, and he's not actively working on this game. He's also doing metric ton of other projects while he's working on this, and since this release is already finished, he doesn't have to work on it, and the game is big as it is. But it gets even better when you see this. For one, Colonial Charters is actually a huge total conversion mod for this game, which gives it completely new gameplay. I have started playing it, but it's so much more complicated than the normal game, which I already find very, very tough, that I stopped playing it again and just went back to the base game. I am using one mod, Tree Growth and Life, because without this, it's really, really, really hard to get your forests sustainable, because trees die too quickly and regrow too slowly. So that's why I've got that mod installed. It's a teeny tiny bit overpowered, to be fair, but, you know, better too much wood than too little. Yeah, I know, I suck at the game. So, I hope this video is actually decent, because, as I said, my last 4 recordings were completely and utterly ruined, but we'll see about that. If it's not good, you won't see it, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. our house has become occupied. The only empty house in the village now has a 10-year-old male and an 11-year-old female living in it. They will actually reproduce, so that's a teeny bit weird, but nobody cares about that. Anyway, minor detail. So they're living there alone, and as you can see, things are actually going pretty well. So we've got 2 adults everywhere. They are going to be reproducing and will be getting more and more kids. As you can see, they all have 2 kids, and they are going to need houses too. So we might want to start work on 2 new houses, because as you can see, an 8-year-old male and an 8-year-old female are already on the way, and they are nearly going to grow up. So what we're going to do, obviously, is just throw in another house. I'm not going to do 2, because if we allow for too much population growth, at one point everything will knock back when people suddenly die, and we will have a huge problem. So I don't want to expand too rapidly. That's the main problem people always have while they are playing this game. How much did we actually collect? See, we collected about 1,000, that is pretty good. Now, we can put our people back on other things. So we actually have more than enough people doing things right now. We're going to get one of the farmers, we're going to get 2 of the farmers and put them to be builders. And yes, that's fine actually. I am a little bit confused. We have a 20-year-old female builder living in this house alone. We have a 26-year-old male gatherer living in this house alone with a 6-year-old male child. I think they used to live together. What's going on there? Not a blimmin' clue. But it is a bit of a problem, to be fair, because I made this house to anticipate for the 2 kiddos coming up, and they are now 10. They are nearly becoming labourers. Things are not going the way I planned, and that is very annoying, because they are now actually labourers and stuff. So I need to build another house, actually. And I hope that this is going to be occupied by the people I wanted to occupy, because otherwise we have a problem. Season has come, I need to put people on the farm, otherwise we're not going to have food this year. So, people are actually doing fine on the food. We don't desperately need all the food from this wheat farm, but, you know, better to have too much than too little. This thing has more than enough capacity. We have a food limit of 5,000. We might actually get that up if we ever reach that, because, well, why not? But that's later concern. So I'm just going to end this episode here, because nothing interesting is going to happen for the time being. Banished is really cool in that game. It seems like a small game, but you can get thousands of hours into it. I don't play it that much because I never play things that long. But it's a really good game, and it's really worth some money. If you have something left, I'll link it in the description. Take a look at it. It's really cool. So, thank you, lovely jubbly people, for watching. Leave a like and comment below if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more, so you don't have to look my channel up every time you want to view this video. And, have a great day. Cheers, signing off.